Hi guys, so let's discuss what are Sentinel loops in Scratch. So what are Sentinel loops? They are loops that use a Sentinel value. What is a Sentinel value? You see that on screen right over here. The definition where it's an improbable value used to stop a loop. Now I have another definition for this where I define it as either an improbable value used to stop a loop or a specific value that we achieve to stop the loop. Now what do both of those mean? I will explain using two examples. So I'll just remove this at the start and start with going to controls and dragging the repeat until loop, which we use for both these examples. So first, let's try to start with the specific value that we achieve to stop a loop. So I'll take the setting of a chocolate shop. Let's say we have a chocolate shop where we have uh, two variables, num and total num, which are this and this. I'll just check them both so you can see both of them on screen. We need to set them to 0 at the start of this code because as you see, there are some default values over there. And I also need one for total num. So what I'm doing right now is initially setting this num variable to 0. This total num variable is basically the number of chocolates in my shop. Let's set it to 50 chocolates right now. And the num variable is the variable where we'll be storing the number of chocolates a customer buys. Every time a customer buys new chocolates, it's gonna store them in the num variable, and then we check if we have that many chocolates in our shop or not. So how do we get number of chocolates from the customer? We use the ask variable. We're going to ask the customer how many chocolates you wanna buy, and this answer is basically going to be stored in using the set block in the num variable, using the answer variable block. So we have all this set. Now, what is the condition that we want so that we stop the loop when we run out of chocolates? We basically want when this variable either turns to 0, then we want to stop this loop. But the problem is during the loop, when we are changing these conditions, it can turn 0 or less than 0 in the middle of the loop, and in the end, you get a negative number for total num, which you might not want. You can define all your steps in such a way that in every time when you check total num, if it runs out of it's less than 0, then you stop it. The problem is when the customers are buying a candy, you don't have a check condition to check in the middle of the transaction if you have the total chocolates less than 0. So I would recommend another condition, to stop this loop, which is to check if the total number of chocolates minus the number of chocolates that the customer wants to buy is less than or equal to 0. So you can check during the transaction if that value drops below 0, and you can stop this loop. So I'll use that operator. Instead of using the equal to operator, I'll use the less than operator because I wanted to check two conditions if it's less than or equal to 0, but I can do both of them using this one line where I just check if this value is less than 1. That solves both conditions because if it's less than 1, it's either equal to 0 or it's less than 0. So I put this condition in. Now the important thing is how do we arrange this code such that we stop this whole process when we run out of chocolates. So initially we ask how many chocolates you want to buy. I'm going to duplicate this and ask this question again at the end of the code as well. And 1 at the start because I want to ask this question and then I want to check this answer. Another thing I need to do is I'll duplicate this too. I'll just set this to answer in the beginning, and I'll set this to answer in the end as well because every time this loop runs, I'm gonna check answer into num, and then I'm going to subtract total by num and see every time if that is less than 1. So we need another condition, which is we need to subtract these two things and store it in total. So every time somebody buys chocolates, we just decrease the count of chocolates. One way of doing that is using the change block, where we change total num by this num. You can either just set total num to this, or you can use the multiplication operator, have the num variable, and put in -1 over here, and put this whole thing inside total num. And you have this at the start of the code. So num changes every time by the number of chocolates that the customer buys, and then you can just keep on asking this question. So you will basically run this code till you run out of chocolates. And then we can have a message in the end. Sorry, we ran out of chocolates. So I'll just run this program now. So it asks me how many chocolates I want to buy. Let's put in 5. You guys can see num is 5 right now and total num is 45. It asks me that question again because this code basically keeps on asking you to buy chocolates till it runs out of chocolates. I'll put in 15. You guys can see this is 30 and this is 15 right now. I'll just put in 25 now. And now if I put anything more than 5, I'm going to run out of chocolates. So I'll just put in 7 to see. So currently num is 7. Total num would have been less than 5 if we did this subtraction and came and changed it, but it stops us from doing that. And because we don't have 7 chocolates, we say, sorry, we ran out of chocolates. You can modify this code so that if they want to buy 7 chocolates, we can tell them here's 5 chocolates, but we don't have 7 or something like that. But I don't want to get into that many conditions. Another example now for when we want to stop the code if we have an improbable value is in this sprite. I already created it, where in this code I have 3 variables: count, average, and total. I have another variable, age, as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask what a person's age is, and then I try to calculate the total age and what is the average age. But if somebody tells me a wrong age, which is not possible, for example, this condition where the age is -1, then I stop this loop because that is an improbable value that we shouldn't have. So I'll try to run this code. Sorry, yeah. So it asks me age. I'm just going to put in different ages. Just multiple ages, and now I'm just going to put a negative value, -1. You can have this less than 0 for any negative value, but this condition is like for this specific value. That's why it's this improbable value. So when I put on -1, it stops and gives me the average age, which it should here because we want to calculate that. So this is a way of calculating the Sentinel loop, using Sentinel loop to calculate something and then stopping it using the improbable value. I hope that explains how Sentinel loops work and what is a Sentinel value. Thank you.